Good morning, and welcome to another calamitous version of Diatribes from the Voice of Doom. Now here's your catastrophic and cataclysmic host, Voice of Doom. Hello everybody, I'm back. I kind of lost interest in doing diatribes because I've said everything. It was a boring week for the most part, only a few catastrophes and a few major events, but nothing to write home about, so I haven't been doing many diatribes lately. For some reason, I'm losing interest, but I figured for the sake of my fan, I would do one today. It's 6 in the morning, and I woke up early, because I sleep 12 hours a day. I know it's first thing in the morning, but it's my day off, and I can do what I want. So let's talk about things happening and things about to happen. All right. Before I get into my main subject of Civil War, let's talk about some of the events that have happened in the last week. Well, about a week ago, Dianne Feinstein passed away. She passed away maybe 12 hours after she was sitting in the Senate chambers voting or doing whatever she does, not knowing what she's doing, and being coached and guided in what to do. And then it's obvious to everyone looking that she is incapacitated, and yet she is still a major player in what used to be the U.S. government. Now, I don't care for her. I think she's corrupt. I think that maybe she started off being not that corrupt, but politics will corrupt, absolutely, if you stay there long enough, because you want a piece of the pie. You don't just want your pay for being a senator or a congressman or a president. You need extra stuff. You need to live large. Want to be an elitist, and that takes millions, if not billions of dollars. Okay. I am of the opinion that regardless of my opinion of this person, I think she was abused, and I think anybody who is a relative who cares about her should file a civil lawsuit against everyone that forced her to stay in the Senate when she was clearly not able to. It just shows the devilish nature of the D's. They don't care if anyone lives or dies as long as they're there to vote correctly. And that's just the way they are. Life means nothing to them. Another thing that happened is Petri Dish gave another interview to some liberal idiot who was sitting there blank-faced, wondering what the hell this guy was talking about, but having to nod and go, yes, whatever you say is right. MAGA Republicans are evil, they will destroy democracy. Coming from Petri Dish. I mean, the irony is obvious. I don't need to go into detail about that, do I? I have to talk about how he has been an ogre, a tyrant, a despot. He is trying his best to either negate or completely obliterate any opponent to his regime. And his minions and sycophants and bootlicking buttlickers are following suit, doing everything they can. And another thing that happened is Orangey was in the docket again over some sort of brouhaha about him inflating his assets in order to get loans. No complainant, no victim. The loans were paid back. The loans were paid back early, but they want to go and dig up some details about him estimating his net worth to be higher than it was. Now, anybody with half a brain, which is not hardly anybody, but anybody with half a brain knows that you cannot just go into a bank and say, I'm worth this, and I have this that's worth that, and they're going to say, okay, you have a house that's worth $3 million, we will loan you $500,000 gladly when you live in a manufactured home. What the bank does is they send an independent assessor, and they assess your assets. That's what any smart bank would do. If I could just go into a bank and get a $500,000 loan saying that my house is worth $3 million, I would do it tomorrow. I'd do it today. Get the $500,000 and probably gamble it away. But that's beside the point. They're raising charges against Orangey because he is lying about his assets that happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And even the idiot judge that is presiding over this kangaroo court with no jury said, I have to throw out a lot of these charges because of statute of limitations. If you can do it for the no-account son, you can do it for Orangey. Otherwise, it's too obvious to everyone that there's a separate set of rules for certain people. And his constitutional rights have been trodden on very badly because it's against the law to deliberately target a person and say, I want to go after this person, I will find a charge. You wait for something to happen and then you file a charge. I've already explained this before. Alright, something happened yesterday that was kind of groundbreaking, kind of historic. Well, the Goppers, in their wisdom, have decided they are not going to be a united front against the D's and against the madness. They are going to be divided, and by being divided, they've destroyed themselves. And the problem is the main reason why McCarthy was ousted from his speakership is because he couldn't figure out a way to actually do what they want to do, which is cut spending and whatever else the Freedom Caucus wanted, which only a small minority of the Freedom Caucus voted against McCarthy. So it only took about 10 or 20 Goppers to rip that whole thing apart. Now, September 30th came and went, and they had a stopgap measure to keep the government going for 45 more days. That's a ridiculous concept. I've already explained why it's stupid. But after the stopgap measure was voted in, which McCarthy had to harness a lot of votes from the D's in order to make this happen, because they can't stop spending and they can't cut spending, and they never will. I don't care who's in office. It doesn't matter. I don't care who's the speaker. They're never going to solve any of the problems. The government's defunct. The government is moribund. They are unable to solve any problems that we have. Now, with that in mind, let us go to the Uncivil War, which is about to take place and is already taking place, and the World War, which is already taking place. Now, let's go back into history a bit. I think it was September 1st, 1939, that Schicklgruber decided to precipitate his takeover of Europe by creating a facade, by creating a false flag to rationalize his attack on Poland. Anybody can look it up in history. I'll give it to you real quick. Poland wasn't going to attack Germany, so what he did was he had some German soldiers infiltrate Poland and pretend to be Polish soldiers and attack a German radio station or something, which gave Schicklgruber the rationale to attack Poland. Now, they didn't have NATO back then, but they had an alliance and they had an agreement that if any of these countries were to be attacked, then all countries would come to their aid. So immediately, England and France declared war on Germany, which Schicklgruber was not counting on. He thought that they would just roll over like they did with Czechoslovakia and the Sudetenland. Do your own homework. They didn't roll over. Now, did the whole world blow up after Poland was attacked? No. Poland blew up. But the whole world didn't blow up, even though that was the start of World War II. Just because nothing blows up all at once doesn't mean you're not at war. Now, we've been in World War III for over a year now. World War III started when Putin, the Mad Vlad, crossed over the border into Ukraine and created a reason for the military-industrial complex to go full force and make a lot more money, which what used to be the United States has jumped on board with both legs, both feet, to perpetuate this war. There's been no talk of peace talks. There's been no talk of negotiations. We are going to stop them from going into Ukraine, and if it means blowing up the entire planet, well, so be it. But let's talk about the Uncivil War. Now, I am very concerned that my son has been stationed in a war zone and is in the line of fire. This war zone is El Paso. Anybody that thinks it's not a war zone is woefully ignorant. Now, the point of the matter is that there is going to be brother against brother in this war, this uncivil war. If you're in the federal side of the armed forces, you were at odds with the local, state, National Guards. And I'll give you an example. It's happening right now. The Texas National Guard is tired of having to deal with thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people coming in every day. They can't handle it, and they shouldn't have to handle it. So they're blocking people from coming in, and they put barbed wire, they put pontoons and buoys and little things to block people from crossing the Rio Grande. And the federal troops come in and tear it down and let the people in. Now that is a civil war, okay? How else is there a civil war? Well, there's a civil war between Goppers and D's, even though they're all part of the same group of evil idiots. No one's going to help us. There's a civil war amongst people themselves. There's a civil war between wokesters and basers. And who knows who's winning, but there is a civil war between people, between races, between creeds, between colors, between religions, between LGBTQ plus and so-called normies, and just everybody's at each other's throats. And unlike preppers and unlike people who say, like Petri dish, democracy is at stake. If the MAGA Republicans win, then democracy is over. Which is the most ironic and most hypocritical and most impunicritical thing I've ever heard Petri dish say, amongst many things, because he's been a tyrant or his ilk, his regime has been a tyrant. He's just been a doddering old fool. And sooner or later, he's going to do something that people will have to say he's got to go. I mean, for real. He's going to molest somebody on stage. He already has, and he's going to keep doing it. It's going to get worse. His brain is deteriorating at an exponential rate. Each day that goes by, he's twice as idiotic and twice as demented as he was before. So that's obvious, but I'm unlike most of the people who either prognosticate disaster or hide their head in the sand and pretend like all's right with the world. I want the conflagration to come, and I want it to come quickly, because the sooner it comes, the sooner we can get on with this planet. We're not going to be able to do it like we're going. It's going to have to be a huge, huge, huge explosion, worldwide annihilation, biological annihilation, chemical annihilation, atomic annihilation, or just annihilation by just destroying ourselves from within. You see, Xi, happiness, and Vlad the Mad could probably bomb a few cities in what used to be the United States, but that would set off a big nuclear trade-off, and we would bomb them, and they would just as soon not have that happen. But there's this saying, and I don't know exactly how it goes, but you don't want to, you don't want to destroy an enemy that's already destroying itself. Now, if you see what used to be the United States turning into a big pile of rubble on its own, why do anything to exacerbate the situation? What used to be the United States is destroying itself all by itself, without any help from the Ruskies or the CCP. We are destroying ourselves very nicely on our own, by being disunited, by being blind, by being idiots, by promoting idiocy. I mean, even if we survive the next few months, which I doubt, the next few generations are going to be brain dead. We will need AI to do our bidding. It will be an idiocracy. It'll be something from Star Trek, where some machine is taking care of all the dumb people who don't know how to screw a light bulb in, which there will not be light bulbs. But today is October 4th, and I guess in a few minutes or a few hours there's going to be a worldwide emergency alert drill. And all kinds of people are all paranoid about this, thinking that this could be a false flag, or it could be something that, is a data control system or a data gathering system, or any number of things. But I guess there's going to be some big thing happening today, which I don't care about. I do not have an iPhone, and I never will. I want to make it through this lifetime without ever having one of those, because I see the damage of what it does. I see people that have lost their minds. They're obsessed. They can't take their eyes off the phone. They are going to fall into manholes, metaphorically, because they're staring at their phones, and I'm not going to be part of that. And I'm also an iconoclast. I'm also a nonconformist. If everybody else is doing it, I don't do it. If I didn't have to breathe air, I wouldn't, because everybody else is doing it. That's just me. I'm a bit of an egocentric person who thinks I'm above everybody else. I don't have an iPhone, and I don't want one, because if I find myself staring at the phone, which I will, because I'm an addictive person, then I'll realize I'm part of the problem too. I'm just like everybody else, staring at the phone, scrolling through. I do that enough with YouTube, but at least I educate myself with that, because I look at all kinds of interesting things and learn. But there will be a conflagration. I thought it would happen in September 30th. I'm living on borrowed time now. I really Haven't paid many of my bills. I didn't think that we'd be here by now. But I'll just push back the goalpost to Christmas time and say we'll be all in some sort of post-apocalyptic nightmare by December 30th. So we'll leave it there. I wanted to just catch you up on some of the things happening, give my loyal fan Nick something to watch, and hopefully comment on, because I'm really getting tired of doing diatribes, and I don't know if I'm going to do it much longer, because there's just not much more to say. The world and the country, what used to be, is destroyed, and it's just a matter of when people notice it. Just like in 1939, September 1st, the world didn't blow up, but by 1944, most of the world had been destroyed. So we'll see what happens. I'll leave it there and enjoy what's left of existence, and enjoy the emergency broadcast system's worldwide alert. That should be fun. All right, good morning, and thank you.